Hey, everybody, it's 7 o'clock p.m. and you are tuned in with the Randalls. I am Tanya.
And I'm Jerry.
Woo-hoo. And this is real love, guys. This is real love.
Yep.
I'm so sad that we missed last week. So we are probably just going to talk because we're so excited. And we see how he started laughing. It's probably going to be me that's talking. But I'm really excited because we wanted to get the chance to just jump back on the air and just keep the flow going. We're excited about today's topic.
Yes.
Let go of your past. Hey, Patrice. We are really, really excited. So we want to jump right on into it. So I'm going to open up in prayer and then we'll go from there. Hey, beautiful niece, Michelle. Hey, Evangelist Kinsler. How are you? Watching in New Haven, Connecticut. Shout out to New Haven. Father, hey, Erlinda Coleman. Blessings to you. Father, we thank you on tonight. We're so excited. We're thankful that not only are we blessed, but everyone that is tuned in, that is tuning in, or will see the replay, they're blessed as well. And we're excited on today to be able to share information and just some nuggets that you've allowed us to experience and go through and to be able to Good evening. Hey, my favorite people, April Potts. Hey, shout out. Hey, Annie Mae. Yes, good to have Jerry on and see him. He all refreshed today. It rained today.
Rested.
He rested.
I'm rested.
He rested
Got
well.
Me some rest.
Yeah, he did. So that's why he ready to roll today. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Shoot, I didn't let you start out today.
Nah, you can start off.
Oh my!
I'm rested,
God.
but we ain't gonna break how we been doing.
We ain't gonna break it down. We're not gonna do that. All right, so we're gonna keep it together.
Not yet.
Not yet. We're gonna keep it
Peace,
together.
everybody.
So listen, guys, we're excited because last week we had intended on doing this episode, Let Go of Your Past, and he was working and he was out there on the roof. He was hustling. He was grinding, so we didn't make it. But everything always work out, for the good. And we got the chance to, just kind of reflect back a little bit on letting go of your past. And sometimes it becomes difficult for people to just let go, even small disputes or arguments or different things. And y'all know we always have a story and we always have something that we can just chime in on that's our own, that we can put our signature
our own
on.
Laundry.
It's
our own laundry.
That's our laundry. We're ready to share our dirty laundry.
Hey, listen, man, it is what it is.
Laundry is laundry, but it helps somebody get theirs clean quicker. Yeah. But, yesterday we were having a conversation, and in the midst of the conversation, Jerry Randall saw that old stubborn Tanya Randall wasn't backing down, and he tried to give some analogies. I don't remember. I can't remember the exact analogy, but it was something like he threw the game of chess in there, and he started talking about how strategic the game of chess is and how pieces are moved. And ladies, when you ain't trying to hear nothing, you're just not trying to hear it. So he's talking about all this chess stuff. I play chess, but I wasn't. It didn't have nothing to do with peaches and
her mind
apples.
Was made up.
It was made up. It was already it was that lock stock. Yeah. And so when he saw it wasn't going anywhere, he said, "Well, I'm 15 minutes away from home." He said, "So
shut it down."
And listen to what he said. He shut it down. He said, "I'm 15 minutes away from home. I'll see you when I get there." So that was a beautiful thing. I said, okay, no problem. Gave me time to sit back and just reflect for a second. But when he came in, the amazing thing was he came downstairs to the office where I was, leaned over, gave me a kiss, went upstairs to take a shower. See, when you realize that sometimes in relationships, it requires you to be able to just know when to fold them. Don't try to, harp and go back and forth in the midst of situations where you create. You remember the little dust bunny and Charlie Brown? I forgot what his name was.
I forgot too.
But everywhere he went, it wasn't until he started movement that the dust stirred up. as long as he was still in Charlie Brown, Lucy, Linus, whoever's presence, it was settled. I mean, you saw a little bit of the dirt on him, but he was settled. But it wasn't until he started moving. And sometimes in relationships, we want to get things moving. We want to make sure that we can get, that word in. And we want to make sure that we start to kind of push, and pry so that we can get a response from the person that we're with. And it's not always the need or the necessity to get a response when it's something further down the line that can be turned around and worked out. Because there's no such thing as, I got to get the last word, or my word is the final word, or my word is the true word. And that goes for men as well as women. And a lot of times, when you feel like you've accomplished that, what did you really end up accomplishing besides the breakdown of a moment that could have been, useful for something else a little more productive? So, that was our moment there. The funny thing was, I ended up talking to someone later on that evening on yesterday, and I had the nerve to use his analogy that he used on me, so that's when you know that there's like a little imprint that took place. Because when I used it, I know the person was looking at me like, why are you laughing? What's so funny about what you said? But it was funny because I realized that what he said, I didn't want to acknowledge it at that time, but it was worth the acknowledgement. Pigpen. Thank you, Arlinda. It was Pigpen. Boy, and that's a good analogy for it, because you can create a pigpen in your relationship and not even realize that.
Yeah.
So did you want to jump in? Because that was my.
No, it's just, I think the whole thing, the episode is letting go of your past, but it's also just being able to let go of certain situations and scenarios that arise in your relationship. And in this instance, the one you were talking about yesterday, it's just that, like I said, man, I've learned in life to pick and choose my battles, man. And everyone ain't worth the energy, So even though I was trying to make my point, and Tanya wasn't trying to hear my point at that particular moment, I wasn't gonna keep trying to beat, like as the saying goes, a dead horse, man, over the head, because I know you have to know the person that you're with. Right. It's key to know the person that you are in a relationship with, because if you know that person, you know exactly how far you can push, how far you can pry.
Yes.
The things that you could, try to do. But if you also know them, you know that their mind is made up. Then you just, sometimes it's like that drop the mic center. Just drop the mic sometime and walk away from it. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't about her and I. It was about a situation. So, right. And I think because it was about a situation that didn't involve, our relationship. It was easy for me just to let it go. Come in the house, give her a kiss, go upstairs, and go on about my regular business. Because sometimes, in the midst of us wanting to be right, or us wanting to prove our point, we could take it to the point where we start to cause some type of damage. And that's not what I'm about, man. I'm not about destroying, anymore. I'm about building, I'm about, elevating, my mindset, the mindset of those around me. So why destroy something when you can build something?
That's good right there. And I'm glad that he mentioned that, because sometimes we'll turn around and take those very moments and create, almost like that landslide, and then now the next thing you know, everything is starting to just fall apart, from then. And a lot of times, if you really look at it, sometimes it's always the elements that's around you, or it's the situations, or it's the people, or it's, circumstances. Because even circumstances, sometimes, well, I won't say now, but, when we were early on in our marriage, we used to get into it about bills, because we figured, what, he was the type that wanted to, pay, he wanted to pay everything. And get everything out the way. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you know what? As long as they get a little bit, then they're all right. We'll turn around and make that happen that way. But when you realize that little fires turn around and can create an inferno in your relationship, the key thing that you have to remember is that you two are in the commitment, in the relationship. It's not the circumstances. It's not the family. It's not the kids. It's not, whomever or whatever else. And a lot of times we don't know how to differentiate the things that are around us that turn around and try to pull, to tear up the relationship. Because some of the things that we've learned and seen is that as time grows, and when people, see that, okay, circumstances are cleared up, kids are going out the house, family is no longer an issue, in your life. And now you're left with the person that you got to look at every single morning. Now you're looking at that person with disgust because you realize I don't even have nothing in common with you. I don't like you like that. I don't know you because I made everything, or we made everything about everybody else and everything else. And see, when you realize that, you have to, like what we have on the screen here, create ways to develop positive forward moments. See, it's always easy to dig and go back to the past. It's easy, and a situation that I wanted to share and talk about some years back. I remember sharing something with Jerry, and we don't remember what it was that I had shared, but in the process of what I shared, maybe like a year later, he had brought it back up, and it was like something that I had like poured out. And I don't know if it was like super intimate, but I know it was super sensitive when I said he threw it like back up in my face. And, when you do that, you constantly open doors for wounds to stay open when you're constantly going back to the past. And I don't want to jump ahead of, some of the things that we wanted to break down and talk about, but there are times in relationships that you may get hurt, or you may feel offended, or you may, go through emotions with the things that you're dealing with, but it doesn't necessarily mean you got to make that permanent moment. You have to find out, how can I develop and create a positive forward moment so that I can let go of that past moment? Because sometimes in situations or arguments or heated, intense conversations, it's easy to dig back up the things of the past and bring that current in your relationship or in your situation. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Very.
And one of the main reasons when we started talking about this is because we've also seen where couples have brought in how they were treated or what they've experienced in their prior relationships, or, in their past, family situations, or in their past life of how they've grown up, or how they've actually, understood how relationships and things are. And people are penalized in the present, in the relationship that they're in, because of that. And this is something that has become so forward in relationships that we have recognized and seen, that we wanted to talk about it, because you cannot make the individual that hurt you, or that did something to you, or that caused you to not believe in love, or caused you hurt or harm. And it might be somebody that you're still with that could have caused you hurt or harm, or have done things to you, over and over again. And now you're still making that person pay, or that new person, or the person that you're afraid to be with, you're making them pay because of what you've experienced from the past, or, from a different relationship. And one of the key things you got to realize is that person is not that individual. It's not, they're not the ones that hurt you. And if you're with the one that hurt you, this is one thing that we have to realize. If I was to constantly keep making Jerry pay for that statement that he threw up in my face after I said something to him, I don't think we would be here on a platform like this to be able to share with you, because one insult and injury turns around and can back up the next one, because the next one, you'll make sure you feel it a little bit more, and you distance yourself a little bit more. And see, the goal of building and relationship is to be able to add to it. Create more moments, create more things to talk about, create more memories, create more timeless, efforts that become effortless. And a lot of times in the hurt of relationships, we don't understand and realize that you can damage yourself as well as go back and dig to what has hurt you in your past. Now, something we say and share with people all the time. If it's somebody that's you're in a relationship right now, and it is a consistent thing that's constantly going on, then you know what? You may need to sit down and find out, where are the offenses coming from, and why are they coming at, whoever the party is being offended, because it doesn't feel good when an individual is offended, but it also doesn't feel good when you keep digging up and throwing up the past in an individual's face, because you can't build forward if you're constantly looking back.
Yeah.
That's a scripture in the Bible said, what man does not sit down and count the cost to see if he has sufficient enough to fill and finish, complete what it is that he's looking to do. You didn't get in a relationship with the person that you're with to call it quits. Because that's a fling. That's a one-night stand.
That's not a relationship.
That's not a relationship.
No.
But if you're looking to build and be that's relations. You had relations. Yes.
Your experiences are real. So the things that you've been through are real.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want you not to look at those experiences as not being things that affected you, but it don't have to dictate your positive moving forward. And the reason I say that is because when you dwell on it, when you harp on it, it tends to like release in you those negative energies. You know what I mean? Those like toxic, they start to emanate off you and into your relationship. So I'm just saying, as a solution about concerning the past and things that could have been done to you, you know what I mean? Use them as, you know what I'm saying, a stepping stone or something positive to build off of, as far as insight.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? What to expect and what not to expect, you know what I'm saying, in the relationship. And like we said, if it's from the person that you're still with, then you have a right to forgive them. You have the right to forgive them.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're going to stay in a relationship. If not, then why are you still there? If you're going to keep, you know what I'm saying, beating them over the head with it. Right. So a lot of times, I believe that we do ourselves our most damage, the most harm, because, you know, we carry this baggage with us that we could have been had let go at, you know, like when you on a street corner, there's garbage cans, there's dumpsters. I mean, you got mad places you could get rid of your garbage at.
Right.
Why do you consistently just carry it with you? You know what I mean? Like you're wearing your garbage, you're wearing your hurt like a badge of honor. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's not, you know, so it's just something that I wanted to throw out there real quick.
Well, you know, Mike Lee, we're there.
Hold on, that's what I just looked at. Hold on, sexy girl. I said the rest of it tomorrow for dinner. I'm like, all right.
We're there. No, but you know, here's the thing. When you're in the midst of a relationship, and if you are really looking to build with the person that you're with and you're in there, you're going to be offended. You're going to go through different things. Mm-hmm. I would be a bold-faced lie, if I sat before you and said that nobody's going to offend each other in a relationship, because that's not the truth. Sometimes you can offend just by the way you talk. Because I always tell Jerry, and we share it with couples that we counsel. Jerry's words are very like stern, you know, and he's gotten better over the years. But he has. But his words used to be like stern, and it's like when you say it, you may not necessarily mean it the way you're saying it, but when it comes out, it creates an offense. And a lot of times when people are offended in a relationship, the first mode we go in is attack mode. It's like, listen, don't say nothing else to me, because now we're out for the fight. But see, what if those words really weren't the words to beat you down or to destroy you? Because let me tell you something, men and women both, we know words when they become slick. We know words when they become salty. We know words when they become offensive. And you have to realize and put them in the right category. But the other thing that we also have to realize is that in relationship, we also become one another's counselor. We become one another's, confidant. Like, okay, listen. You said that, but what do you mean by that? Instead of the offense, because the offense is the easy part to take in it. But if you become the counselor, the one that you're looking to build with, what's wrong with talking it out and say, well, you know what? Well, what did you mean by that? How did you mean that? And a lot of times we don't know or understand how to be able to talk with one another in the midst of a relationship. Because at that point, that moment, I got to be the one to be right, and I got to be the one to get the last word. And the last word a lot of times is not always the word that brings the peace in the relationship. That last word means, I got you. Yeah. And I'm going to remember what you said or what you did. Yeah. It's not helpful. Nobody wins. And something that we've come to realize and we shared, I'm laughing at April. Something that we realized and we shared is that people have different scales. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to talk about the 100% scale. Because a lot of times in relationships, even though we know it, but we don't know it. See, we know that we're involved with an individual, or we're looking to learn that individual that we want to be involved with, or the person that we've been with for 10, 20, 30 years. We know those individuals, but you have to realize one thing. There is a scale in every relationship. And see, on that scale, Jerry's 100% might be here. My 100% might be here, or my 100% might be there. And a lot of times we expect the individual that we're involved with to know our 100%. And they don't. Every single day we're growing as individuals. We're growing and evolving as a couple. We're growing and evolving and learning one another. And if my 100% and my expectations where my 100% is, it doesn't have to necessarily mean where Jerry's is. Jerry may have come up in a different background, a different environment. He may not have seen what love actually is. He may not have even experienced, what holding hand is all about, or what, affection, shown is all about. He may not even know how to sit down and have a conversation to be able to sort out things that may be going, wrong in a relationship, or whatever the case may be. But this is why we can't turn around and slap down. And I want you to talk about that 100%, because you brought a good point out the last time when you were sharing it.
Yeah, that scale. When you really look at that scale that Tanya just mentioned, and you do the comparison levels of a scale, and you see that one thing can be up here and one thing could be down here, because we're a society that loves to compare, you know what I mean? And you feel like you're putting this much effort or this much energy into more something. And once you start to compare, you totally lost picture. You lost sight of whatever it was you was trying to do. It's gone, because you started to compare instead of look at the effort and the energy that individual was putting into it. And then because a lot of times when I do something, I like to try to go all out. So Tanya likes to go all out, right? But if someone was to look at our Tanya's all out and my all out, and there was a compare, they might say somebody's all out is more than the others, but they might not say that, but both gave 100%. Right. You see what I'm saying? So we're gonna look at the negative thing that the person sees instead of the positive thing that the group collectively can see and learn from. Right. And that's what we want you to understand in the relationship part of it. You know what I mean? Just because it may seem like you're doing more, or you can let go of something, you know what I'm saying, easier than the person you're with, don't mean that they're not trying to let go of it. So, you know what I mean? And sometimes we got to I love to talk about grace, because I was extended so much of it. A lot of times we don't give that person the grace, you know what I mean, to get into that place where they can totally not bring that thing up, that past hurt back up. You know what I mean? Right. And once that person bring that hurt up, it creates a conflict. And now we're having a tug of war in a relationship, and we have so many things happening that don't need to be happening. Jerry knows your scale.
Absolutely.
That's my sister.
Ta-da!
Yo, those numbers are off too. But a lot of times, you know what I mean, then you're having a tug of war in a situation where it could have easily been resolved if you was looking at the total effort the person and all the energy the person was putting into the matter. We have to stop comparing stuff. You know what I mean? Well, I did it this way. I did this. Why didn't you do it like that? Because that's not how the person may do it. You know what I mean? That's not how the person may see it. That might not, the person might feel that there was an easier or a better outcome, you know what I mean, in the way they did it. It doesn't mean that your way was wrong either. It just means that person chose to do it this way.
And I wanted to say and address Mike's question with what he had. Does the man always have to stay humble?
Hold up. I want to address that real quick. It's so funny that you said that, right? And big bro, you know I love you, man. I had a conversation on yesterday and today about a situation, right? And it's funny. I hope Kareem is watching this with April, because Kareem says something to me about this too. And I love him because, you know what I mean? He's not, the people in my life ain't going to never tell me nothing to hurt me. They're going to always tell me something to try to help me. So I thank God for the people that are in my life like that, right? So I had another conversation outside the conversation I had with Kareem with another individual. And I made a statement. I made a statement about something that I felt firm on, right? And I changed my mind, which we have the right to change your mind on things, right? You could, I will say, amen. You could feel like this today, and tomorrow you may feel totally different, right? And that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, a situation arose, and my stance was firm, and then I changed my mind, right? And the person who I had the conversation with didn't like that I changed my mind. They thought that I was giving in. They thought that I was, in my ways, not just staying humble, but catering, right? So I allowed the individual to talk. I allowed the individual to express himself. You know what I mean? And then I said, but at the end of the day, right? I do anything possible and sacrifice anything to make my wife happy, period. I mean, that's really how I feel. You know, there's no extreme I wouldn't go to make my wife happy, right? But I'm not gonna, if it's gonna cause me to be bitter and unhappy with me, no, game over. I'm not doing it. But if it's not nothing that's gonna affect my inner man, that's going to have a reflection on my outer man, I'm cool. I mean, I just changed my mind. It's okay. So I don't think that we always have to stay humble, you know what I mean? But we always have to be respectful and maybe how we may deliver, you know, certain things at times, because a lot of times, especially with us, Mike, because we from the streets, Mike, you know what I mean? We tend to be overly aggressive in our approach to stuff because how we always had to deal with people, you know what I'm saying, in the streets, especially like what you're doing now. You're still a boss, so you still got to deal with people in a certain manner. So sometimes your manner may seem overly aggressive. You know what I mean? I'm a foreman on my job. Sometimes I got to say things overly aggressive. You know what I mean? And people can misconstrue. You know what I'm saying? That is really not overly aggressive. Just that it's just how I talk. You know what I mean? Like, look, I'm talking with my hands now, with body language moving. That's like, to some people that's aggressive, but it's just my nature.
Yeah. And you know, that level of humbleness, you know, in men, you don't, I think sometimes men don't realize how much more you gain, you know, in sometimes just being humble. Now, it doesn't always work for every situation, but here's the thing to realize and understand. You win, you know, your spouse, or you win, you know, the person that you're in relations with your chase conversation, you know, a lot of times, because women are emotional beings just by nature. And in that sometimes emotionalism, sometimes it just needs to be broken down to explain in a whole nother manner until they get it. You know, and if that means, you know, you may look like you're the chump, you're not the chump. You're the one that's keeping your relationship afloat. You're the one that's keeping that relationship with the fire, you know, still ignited. Why? Because again, you took the time, and I'm going back again, that most of the time, men or women in relationship don't really fully understand where people have come from in their past. You don't know how many, you know, people a person may have dealt with before they came across you, you know, and then coming across you, and now y'all decided to have a relationship or to be married, you know, or to be engaged or to be dating, whatever the situation is. You now have to realize that there's two different worlds that's getting ready to complement themselves to become one. And in those two different worlds, you're bringing what that person may not have known or understood with what you may know and understand already, or you might be bringing a level of, you know, insecurities because of the damage that was done from before, and you might be the confident one. So there's always that flip-flop where you're going to need to be able, not just the men, but the women also, to be humble, to understand where one another is, and to help each other to break out of that pattern and get into a pattern that fits what it is that you guys are trying to build. Because if I brought, what and how I was raised, with different things that I may have known, and he brought in the same way, we might be clashing all the time.
Mhm.
But you got to realize that the person that you decided to make that commitment with, it's worth the fight in seeing, well, how could we make this work with the both of us? What is it that I don't understand about you yet, or that I've seen and it still pisses me off? How can I get to understand why you do what you do, or why you say what you say, or why you act the way that you act? And a lot of times in relationships, we'll get more frustrated than we actually get to the point of wanting to, communicate to find out the intricacies. Jay, I follow him around. If I have a question and I'm looking for that specific answer, I'm not going to hound them, but, I'm going to bring it up because I definitely want us to be able to find out the thing, so that thing doesn't become an issue, and that issue doesn't become something that holds our relationship back from going to the next level.
And I also say this concerning our humble. I don't never want to come off where I appear to be overbearing or too proud. You know what I mean? Because my whole point, and no matter what it is to be from a teaching place, or a place where I want understanding to be developed in. So, when you come off as being boisterous or too overbearingly proud, you might lose the person that you're trying to get the point across to. So staying humble allows them to see, that, well, I don't always know that I'm right, or I don't feel like I always have to have it going on and my way is the right way. So sometimes staying humble, allows the person that you're trying to get to receive your message, to actually, receive the message, because you're giving it to them in a way that they can receive it.
And if you love that person, here's the thing, you're going to want to work towards building something up. If you have respect for that individual, you're going to want to look and build ways to see how we can make it better. Because people today don't have that googly eye, feeling no more. It's like you're just there, it's you, we're married, or, yeah, we're dating, but I don't see any expectations of making you my wife yet because I still don't get you. Listen, if you've been together and you've been dating, for years and forever, and you still got to figure out the person, it's not the person you got to figure out. It's you. Because see, when you realize that whatever it is that may be causing you to say, well, you know what, you just good enough for me to be dating material, but not wifey material, not husband material, then now you got to check back and see, where were you hurt and where were you damaged? Because a lot of times when people don't let go of their past, it's because something in that past has that stronghold on them. Whether you've been hurt, whether you've been dumped at the altar, whether you've been, cheated on numerous times, whether you've been unfaithful, whatever the situation is, these things are the things that challenge you from not making that next move to accept. And if you're with an individual that is stringing you along to that degree, you might want to sit down and have a real conversation and find out, what is it about me, or what is it about you that doesn't allow us to see, ourselves building a future together. And if you're in, a relationship right now and you see more, you want to start having these conversations now. And I thank God that this was one of the things that, with Jerry and I, we were always communicators. We always talked. And the talking part, sometimes it didn't come to, full agreements, but we knew how to table it and come back, to it later on. But you got to learn the art of creation. It takes time, but each new moment is a moment to build on.
And it's dope. I ain't in the country.
No, go ahead.
But
That's
it's
good.
dope. Learn the art of creation. I was talking to somebody who I got a lot of love for, and they shared with me the other day, about taking a little simple trip, to go see a little simple thing, and enjoy that moment, that new moment they created, you know what I mean? And the crazy thing is, when I was talking to the individual, I'm like, yo, it didn't cost you nothing but gas. Because this is the thing. Yeah. We think, the art of creation takes a lot of money. Right. It don't, man. It take being creative, and what you're doing with the person that you're with. Yeah. You know what I mean? And each time they you do something new with the person that you're with, you're building a solid foundation. You're building a foundation of memories of moments, man, of things to look back on and smile about, man, and to appreciate, you know what I mean, which turns around and build a relationship even more. So when you look at that person, you be like, yo, we did this, we've been here, we experienced this, that, you know what I mean, and that together. And it could be the simplest of things, man, that don't cost a lot of money. You know what I mean? I was looking at my cousin Will Flix Jackson, that's his Facebook name, and my cousin Preston. They taking some of the dopest pictures, man, from some spots that we've been in. But now taking pictures is nice, man. You're just looking at these shots that they're catching, and you're saying, yo, wow, man, that's a beautiful picture they captured, man. But it's a moment that they got to experience, whether they experienced it by themselves or with somebody else. But it's a moment they got to experience of just looking at something, man. And a lot of times we don't realize that we can just look at something next to somebody and enjoy the view together. And you think that costs something, but it didn't cost nothing but finding that right view, you know what I'm saying, to be with the person that you're with, that you love. I mean, so each time, every time it says it takes time, but each new moment is a moment to build. Yo, listen, on the highway, it's crazy. Me and my cousin was going down south, Preston. One of his cousins on his other side of the family passed away. And we driving to South Carolina, right? And he's just taking pictures out the front windshield. I'm driving, he's just taking pictures. And he got this most beautiful picture. He got it framed of it's like on a highway, foggy. And I'm like, yo, man. But it was a moment me and my cousin shared. You know what I'm saying?
And every time you look at that picture, you can relate back and reflect on the moment.
Moments like it don't cost a lot to build these moments, man. But if you won't be able to build them if you're constantly holding on to your past.
That's
man.
it. That's
you won't be able to figure these things out if you're constantly looking back. I mean, you got to let this stuff go in order to, you know what I'm saying, appreciate your now and your forevermore. You know what I mean? So real talk.
And that's the key. He said that, and that's where I was going to piggyback off of from what he just said. A lot of times we spend so much time in nitpicking on the stuff of yesterday. We go back to that conversation that happened last week or last month or last year, or we go back to that moment where we felt insulted or we felt offended or we felt, abused and through words and stuff. But when you realize that the effort that it takes to actually go back and rekindle a past moment and then take it, carry it, and bring it into the present, that's a load of work.
Yes, it is.
That's a load of work. But when you realize, okay, listen, if we still together, then that means that moment back there didn't kill us and it didn't take anything away from us, as if we're still together. If we're dating or we're trying to get to know one another and you still here, then that's a good sign that I don't need to bring nothing else up from the past. Let's stay right here and let's create and build something new. Because the more you understand that you're present where you are and you're living right now and the direction of where you desire to go. See, I'm always avid on or adamant in planning goals. When you look at a relationship is nothing but a business investment. You're investing in the person that you took time to say, I'm going to choose to be with you. I'm going to choose to learn you. I'm going to choose to love you. I'm going to choose to spend my life with you. And in making that choice, you just told that individual that I'm going to invest in you. Now, if you don't see the worth in what you're investing and who you're investing with, then you better get your suitcase and you better get to moving. But if you can see the investment, like Jerry told me years ago, he said, if you don't see greatness in me, don't waste your time on me. And it's the same question that we have to ask in the midst of it. Because if we're constantly going back, then that next question is, listen, is it really worth us moving forward anymore if I got to keep going backwards in the relationship? Because the only thing that went back was the moonwalk when Michael Jackson was alive. Nothing else goes backwards. Time doesn't even go back. Time moves ahead. And if we're constantly doing, I forgot what movie that was, Nick of Time, I think it was, or one of them that held back time. It's not real. You can't hold time and you can't go back in time. But what you can do is build on your moment that you actually have, before you and make it something great. Now, I want to talk quickly about resentments. offenses, real or imagined wrong. Sometimes we could be so caught up that we have some imagined wrong. And I want to deal with that first because, that's real. A lot of times we can go back and start creating a picture. Every picture starts with a blank canvas, but we can start creating pictures. And a lot of times you can mix those pictures up, especially when you've been in relationships where you've been hurt, you've been, ostracized, by who you are or what you are, what you look like, what your weight might be, what it might not be, your comparisons, all the different things that may cause you to have that resentment or that pullback in a relationship. And sometimes we take some of that stuff and we add it to the canvas that is fresh and new. And when you're taking that stuff and adding it to a new canvas, it is not going to be a pretty picture. It's going to be a confused picture because the picture or the person that's looking at it is trying to figure out how in the world did this get mixed up in this? And see, you can have resentments from past relationships or resentment from past discussions that you may have had with the one that you're with, or resentments from, a previous marriage, or just from maybe previous conversations, family or whatever. And you bring those resentments into your present moment. It is toxic. Toxic. It will destroy it. And people, we said it earlier in this episode, you're going to be offended in relationships. And it's some things are not done intentionally. When offenses are constantly being, intentional. And at that point, that's where we said you got to sit down and have a real conversation and figure out if this is desire and the way that you should be, going with one another. Because guess what? That person is not the only one person in America. There are millions of people that are out there. But what I want to say is, if you chose someone that you really feel that you can build with, then take those moments and drop the resentments, drop the offenses, because offenses don't produce fruit. No. They create disasters.
And I definitely want to add on to. I just want to bring something else into this picture, especially in a relationship, right? And we kind of talked about this when we did our the segment on kids and everything. Coming into a relationship, and she said you coming in with a clean slate, a clean, whatever case may be. This for new people. This could be for old. I mean, that still haven't figured it out. I came into a situation with pretty much a ready-made family. So in this situation, there were kids involved, and so with kids, there's gonna be baby fathers, So there has to be like the boundary set up, because you don't want to bring, certain things from your past into this beautiful new portrait, that you have. But a lot of times, these things from the past has a way of implementing themselves into this portrait. So we're not going to just talk about boundaries. What I really want to focus on is the understanding that needs to take place.
Right.
And how do we not allow, these past experiences to affect our future. And a lot of times it's getting misconstrued, because this is my thing. If I'm choosing to be with a person, right, that person needs to be the most important person, moving forward.
Right.
So even though there's a connection and there's things that's left behind from that past relationship, right, is that past experience worth jeopardizing your future or your present.
Right.
And a lot of times the navigation between, those lines is difficult for people to work out. It's like the Bermuda Triangle. People just get lost in it, and they be in this nonsense for a lot of years because they haven't figured out the navigation. And I'm saying it because it has to be conscious decisions made.
Yes.
When it comes to past relationships. And the perfect example is like this, right? Everybody has an ex. Everybody has an ex, right? But should the ex, if the person that you're with is not comfortable with your ex, but you and your ex friends, is that friendship more valuable
right.
than your relationship
Right.
with the person that you are married to or the person you plan on getting married to.
Right.
It's like things really like real truths, real scenarios, real situations, real conversations has to come out, because people like, well, this is my friend, and it was already my friend, and okay, y'all listen, if that's your past friend, then go back and be with your friend.
Right.
And I'm not saying it to be offensive, but I'm saying like that causes problems.
Yes, it does.
Because people talk about, yo, well, that's my ex-husband, that's my ex-wife,
right.
that's my, you know what I mean, and we still have a bond, but you have to figure out, you know what I'm saying, is that worth sacrificing the present?
That's
you know what I mean? And a lot of times it just gets mixed up, man. It really does, you know. And then like even in my own personal situation, you know what I mean, because I wasn't never threatened and I didn't feel threatened, and because, you know what I'm saying, I took my wife on her word, it didn't, it wasn't a problem for me. Right. You know what I mean? It really wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, some people are just some needy people, you know what I mean? and it's like, you know, people are so funny in relationships, especially exes and stuff, that they want to see if they still got like that type of pull, that type of influence, that type of sway over you still. So it's a real tricky thing to navigate, man. Like, if you're going to keep that person in the past, watch this, if you're going to keep that person in the past, in your present.
Those
your gift I'm talking about, not the present in time. If you're gonna keep that person in the past and what you consider was your gift.
Because let me tell you something, you better know.
That's how my baby daddy and Melissa said.
You better know how to set those boundaries, you know, because if you don't, it does cause problems. And, you know, we've seen in relationships as well, you know, the very same thing that Jerry talked about, that, you know, people give that upper hand for, you know, the things of their past to make them relevant. And the only thing that's relevant at the end of the day is your relationship. Listen.
In layman's terms, that's what I really wanted to say.
Because even to the point, you know, with us having kids in the midst of, you know, our marriage and our relationship, guess what? At the end of the day, kids grow up, kids leave, kids are gone. Guess what? You're not even going to come between our relationship, because you have to begin to understand that anything has the ability to come and create that friction in your relationship. And you don't want friction in the midst of your relationship. Jeanette said she threw him in the sea.
To see a forgetfulness.
Forgetfulness. Yes. Who the conversation with the ex about boundaries. And listen, you gotta set those boundaries, because just what you heard Jerry said, exes will turn around and feel like, well, this is important and this is just between us. Nobody else has any say in this. The devil is a lie, because here's the thing. I'm not committed to you. I'm not married to you. We may have a common thing with children, but guess what? At the end of the day, if every conversation can be run through the one that you're with, you don't give the upper hand in no situation. I don't care what the odds of the situation are. If they're involved and they're active in the kid's life, if they're not involved or not active in the kid's life, you still set those boundaries, because there should never be a moment that no woman or any man should feel like they're second fiddle to anyone. That's another part of letting go of your past, because if you don't, it will slowly creep up and become, even if it's not a forefront problem, it can be a back underlying problem, and you may not necessarily know it's a problem until it builds up to the point that now that it's built up, it's no longer a discussion, it's now an offense. And you definitely don't want that. So that you definitely, do not want that. It was something that Jerry had said that I wanted to piggyback off of, when it comes down to that as well.
Well, I don't know, but I know what I want to continue with that resentment aspect, because even in the point of, you don't want to create resentments. and it's like, so I'm gonna speak for on I
Speak
love
on
that.
us.
I
Talk
love
about
speaking
us.
on. I love speaking on us.
Talk about us.
And it was situations and instances that arose, right? and because I know that I'm a father, you know what I mean, and I know that I'm holding down, you know what I'm saying, my end of the contract, you know what I'm saying, of our relationship, you know what I mean. When things arose with the kids, and you know, there was discipline that may have been needed, or anything that, you know what I'm saying, where I had to speak to the kids, or you know, or whatever the case may have been.
Talk about that. That's good.
I'm so thankful that she didn't feel like she had to call the father to, you know what I mean, who wasn't doing his end of the deal anyway, and tell them what transpired.
Because I trusted the one that
and that's why I said, because now you create access. Now you
yes.
And that's exactly where I was going now. And it wasn't the point that they don't deserve to know. That's not what I'm talking about, because they do deserve to know. But as far as the input of the situation that was handled in our household, in the household, there's no concern from anything outside.
Right.
And that's why, you know what I'm saying, you don't want to create, you know what I'm saying, where you creating a conflict of interest on how you, the person or the man, should be handling the situation when you're using two outside entities. Right. And it's crazy, because you'll be surprised how much that happens. You know what I mean? Situation get handled, but because the child called the father, now the father is making a phone call to the mother, you know what I'm saying, what's going on. She's explaining herself to, you know, in a situation that she don't even have to explain herself, right. And you know what I mean? And it creates so much stuff, man. I mean, when I tell you stuff happens in relationships, man, that the enemy try to creep in and just cause like just crazy stuff, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, he is.
Appreciate that. But yeah, so that's another thing. So you don't want to create those type of resentments, man.
Right.
So whether it's from the female side or the male side, it doesn't matter, because men have kids too with a bunch of crazy baby mothers, you know what I'm saying? And women have crazy baby fathers, and everybody has a say so. If it's in your house and you know your structure of your house is set up correctly, you know what I'm saying? Don't allow nothing on the outside to disrupt, you know what I'm saying, how you know what I'm saying, how you to agree.
Right.
To run your house.
Right. That was big what he just, you know, said and shared, because that's the part that we have to be able to come to, you know, that term with, when you're looking at, you know, letting go of everything else. Because once you come in the midst and the bond of, you're saying you're building a relationship and you trust that individual that you're with, you're saying that you trust them with everything that's a part of you. And when you realize that, you have to allow them, especially if you know they're not trying to kill your kids, they're not trying to, you know, sabotage, you know, anything, you give them that access. Because what you do is you dumb down the outside situations that would try to be a louder voice than what you've created as a foundation internally in your house. Because as I said again, kids are going to get older. They're going to grow up. They're going to be on their own way and do their own thing. But at the end of the day, you still have to have that peace with the person that you're with, so that you can continue to keep building and growing. Because listen, you don't expect everybody to, you know, be in your house forever, because we don't.
No.
Try a clean house. No.
No. That's another episode. That might be the last.
That might be the last episode of the year. No, but you know, it's amazing. And you know, our last point that we wanted to hit is sometimes we can go into attack mode for no reason. You know, in building a relationship, you don't want to, you know, be at each other's throat. You know, you don't want to continue to keep making everything the big issue. And sometimes there are people in relationships that make everything the big issue. But learn to be able to chop down the big issues and make it where it's bite-sized and you guys can talk about it, deal with it, and then keep moving. You don't build looking back.
No.
Something is going to be missing. No. Something is not going to look right, but you have to have forward focus and direction in order to be able to, you know, build and control what you're building. You know, the one thing that I love is, as we're in one another's lives, I love it how we complement one another, you know, and we build together, you know, as we recognize as being a unit. When you're dating, you're in that field of
Mhm.
looking for that flat ground. And once you find that flat ground, and what I mean by that flat ground is you're looking for something that y'all have smoothed out. Because listen, you when you're dating and your field is rocky and their field is rocky, and now you trying to just automatically just come right on in and start building, is not going to happen. Take the time to smooth out your stuff. So when you coming correct. When they come, they're coming correct. Because you can always tell rocky stuff, when yours is correct.
Mhm.
You could tell nonsense, before nonsense even hit you. But when you are also in a relationship, you got to realize every now and then you got to do an inventory check, because you want to continue to keep building. And when we sit down and we talk and we dialogue with one another,
Mhm.
if there's stuff that sound off the wall, we're like, wait a minute. So what are you talking about? What are you saying? And by the time you start talking, you now start to begin to clear off that ground and start to build to the next level. You don't ever want to stay the same. Next year, this time, you should have been able to develop and create something different, something more, something better, something improved, something that has changed, with each of you as you continue to build. And don't grab nothing from the back. Nothing from the back can help you build forward. The back is just a testimony. Like when we share our stories, it's a testimony and it's a witness to somebody else that may have experienced some of the things we experienced. We've experienced and going through the baby daddy syndromes, but we've also experienced the past ex's experience, with him. But at the end of the day, when we know that our nucleus and our foundation was all about us, guess what? Nothing else on the outskirts around us matters. And that's from back then, and that's still now today. Nothing else matters. And when you realize and adopt this simple thing, I forgot what I was just getting ready to say.
Don't matter.
You said don't matter.
It wasn't. I mean,
it wasn't meant to say it's going to come back.
Yeah.
But you gotta that whole development is you and him and you, and you make that thing work. If you want it, you can have it. It's just as simple as that. And I know, as we're getting ready, and I put that last point down there. Don't go into attack mode. Relationships can't be healthy when you're always on the defense and you're going into attack mode.
I just think that letting go of your past is so key to having a fantastic future.
Really is.
It really is. When I think about my past, it's for testimonial purposes, and that's it. You know what I mean? I'm not harboring on no ill feelings, things people done, right, because I done a lot of things to people too. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't to go back to draw up a anger or to make me feel some type of way, bring me into depression or anything like that. Nah, man, I look back on that as, wow, man, all of that led me to this, and I'm happy now.
Right.
I'm saying I'm blessed. I mean? I'm fortunate. You know what I mean? And that's that. It couldn't have happened if I just held on to my past. I read in a comment back there from Melissa. She was like, yo,
that's a good one.
She really said, you just got to let go of your past, yo. No matter what people think, sometimes you just got to let go of your past in order to have a future that's worth, value. You know what I'm saying?
And that good question there, Cheryl. If the ex won't let go, see, this is where you have to have those conversations and mean what you say. Because and I'm not saying this because I love that question that you brought up, but sometimes people keep reservations. And when you're dealing with an ex, you have to make sure that your point is very clear. Because sometimes people will play on your smile when you're talking, when you really mean a valid point, but everything is and the gigglies, or when you give those in between line type of answers, or you're constantly entertaining the phone calls or the texts, or exploring what they're doing and what they may not doing, or and there's different things in different ways, because a lot of times people know when you mean what you say, and they know that when you put it out there and there is no more reservations. You got to learn this is that scissor thing. You got to cut them off. And see, when you start cutting off, communication, cutting off. You ain't getting a message to my girlfriend or to my homeboy to get to me, or none of those other, crazy type of things that turns around and give them the indication that there might still be a chance.
Mhm.
There is no chance. There is no way. And you got to let it go. Because, we've had exes that have played those games when we first got, married, that we had exes that were, exploring, well, let me just call them, or let me Facebook them, or let me shoot them a text, or let me, see where they are. And if we in the same arena, let me, look at them and see if they still smile, or let me see if I still got all that crazy nonsense. See, when and ladies, y'all know we know how to ignore people. You got to ignore them, especially if you know that the door is completely shut. Men, same thing. You can flirt when you want to flirt, and you know how to do it without looking. See how he got the smile on his face? That's the nonsense right there. You know how to flirt without drawing that attention, but enough attention to still get them to recognize that, there still could be a toe in the door somewhere.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? You can't argue by yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that same concept applies to that question.
Mm-hmm.
If you totally just leave it alone, that person could do whatever they want. It's whether you respond or not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The ex don't want to let you go, and they still pursuing, and you ain't responding. Pretty soon, I mean, just give it some time. That person to back off.
Yep.
I mean, they realize that they're wasting their time.
they'll get it.
Yeah, they'll get it.
Oh,
it might take some time, but they'll realize, just like two people arguing, one person shut up, now the other person keep arguing. They ain't gonna just keep talking to themselves and talking out loud. And if they do, pretty soon it's gonna shut down. If it goes on for 15 to an hour, it's gonna eventually shut down. It takes two people.
Or you better get them some help because something wrong.
Yeah.
Something wrong. But you know what, guys, we are so thankful for you guys. We appreciate you, wholeheartedly. We're glad that you guys just hung on and forgive for last week and missing out. But we're so excited that we were able to bring this back to you. Yeah. Yes. And listen, all of that, Cheryl, what you just said, all of that is people trying to get your attention. See, one thing you got to realize, people want attention, and especially exes. And if they can say things to defame you, or say things to, get you to respond, it's still you giving them the time of day. See, and I love the fact what Jerry just said. You got to turn around. It takes two people to be able to have dialogue back and forth with one another. And when there's no response, it's like that cricket sound. When people are waiting for a response and nothing happens, it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And you give enough cricket sounds, guess what? Yeah. Somebody's gonna get the picture.
Absolutely.
Somebody's gonna get it. Somebody's definitely going to get it. Next week, I'm really excited about our episode next week, because this is something, that people are dealing with now. And, we're hearing, a lot about it. And, people are dealing with mental, physical, and emotional abuse in relationships. And, people think that it's just okay. And it's not. We know that even during this time frame that people are dealing with a lot of stresses, whether it be, lack of work, whether it be because the holidays is coming around and people feel the extra pressure, and people get a little volatile, or, your words are just, real sharp and cutty and edgy, or you may think that it's a cute thing to put your hands around somebody's neck, or, to snatch somebody up, or, to physically enforce, yourself upon, someone. It's not cool in relationships.
And this episode won't be next Saturday. I think it'll be Wednesday.
It'll be Wednesday?
Yeah, I think it'll be Wednesday.
Okay, because we gotta catch up.
Yeah. Okay.
So this may be a special edition on Wednesday. Yeah. On Wednesday this week coming up. So we'll be posting it. And, we definitely want to deal with this, because there are so many people that are in relationships and they are really going through, and then they're making an excuse that it's okay. And it's never okay, when you are mentally, physically, or emotionally abused in a relationship. So guys, thank you. We went over a few moments, but we appreciate you guys so very much. I thank God for this man right here. This is the real man with the plan.
All right, we're going to close out. Father, in the precious name of your son, Jesus, Lord, we thank you for another opportunity just to share our life, to share our experience with others. We thank you for being able to let go of the past. We thank you for being the dictator and the author of our future.
Yes, God.
May you continue to bless us and everyone who will see and hear this episode until we meet again in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I just thought about that song. He's going to make me, your group is from 6 to 8. She said,
won't be, it'll be 8 o'clock, 8:15, just for you.
So we're going to do an 8 o'clock show on Wednesday. How about that? Yeah. But I'm going to go listen to that song, Share My Life. Who is that?
I don't know.
Share My Life? No, the guy.
I don't know.
Not Raphael Sadiq. It's one of those guys.
Share My World?
Share My World.
I thought that was Mary.
No, not that one. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Look at Jerry. We changed from the start. Love it. We love you guys too.
That's my
Who
sister,
know that
Melissa,
song? Share my life.
Melissa M.
Share
Honey.
My life. Share my life. Share my life. Share my life. Y'all know share my life. Share my life.
Hold up. Look at that question.
Here's a question.
Yep.
Real Love with the Randalls. What happens when there is a mutual interest between two people, but one is not mentally available because of decisions that were made based off of emotions? Oh, okay. Okay, we got this one. See,
that question gonna get answered on Wednesday.
This question is gonna get answered. Hey, Cuzzo. Hey,
that question gets answered on Wednesday.
Yeah, we're gonna answer this one.
We're gonna start off with that question.
This is a good question. Thank you, person, for sending this to us. Y'all share. Come on, y'all. Y'all gotta know this song because I want to go play it.
Do not pay no mind.
Share my
Peace,
life,
love, and
share my life,
everybody.
share my life, baby. Share my life.
Leave singing for the singers and the family. You write, direct.
Come on, somebody gotta know it.
Preach.
Share my life.
I don't know. You don't either. Obviously, no, you don't. Because if you do, you.
I thought it was like Raphael Sadiq, but it's not Raphael Sadiq. Nah. It's
Share My Life.
Share. Oh, his name was just right there.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Not.
It wasn't there. If it's there, you'd have spit it out.
Watch this, y'all. Nah. We about to just hold on, cause I know. Hold on. Don't you go nowhere.
It's gonna have a totally different title. It's gonna be like her. The harmony was off.
I bet you.
Everything was off.
Where you want to bet?
Oh, somebody said Kim.
Thank you. Who said it? Come on now, Cheryl Gomes. That's what I'm talking about. Kim. See what I'm saying? I knew it was a one-word person. Kim. That's the song. I'm gonna watch this. Come on. Thank you.
Yo, you would be the one that tell her what it is.
That's my girl. That's what I'm talking about.
You couldn't let me finish catching wreck on her. She would have fumbled all through the laptop.
Melissa said, totally different harmony. I was off. See what I'm saying? We don't own the rights to this, but this is...
Peace, y'all. Alabama.
Wait, no, that's what he tried to go see.
Alabama.
He tried to go upstairs
football game is
see the
right
roll
now.
Time. Listen. Just one little piece. Rock with me.
Hey! Hold on, I might as well hug you then, girl. Might as well hold you in my arms. Rub them arms, y'all.
It's a porky
night!
Yo, we out of here,
Peace, y'all.